Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we have From Home Is Where, hunting season. So one of the biggest surprises for me in 2023 was The Whaler, a stunningly bright, high-concept blur of emo shredding and wild southern fried flair, where the concept of you keep aging and getting older, but it's 9/11 every day, served as a blazing metaphorical critique of American resiliency and how one might process trauma, with this quiet note of hope that anything could be salvaged. Thus, I wasn't surprised to hear about the newest album from Home Is Where going even deeper into country and maybe even southern rock and Americana, specifically an older traditionalism from Hank Williams or Graham Parsons, but also embracing a similar high concept. Each song focused on the dying thoughts of a different Elvis impersonator dying in a flaming car wreck. 13 songs, 13 different Elvises, or Elvi, not sure. I was a little bit more skeptical about this. Even if you could create 13 different credible versions of the same archetype, eventually they might start running together without more progression. But as deep in country as I am, I really wanted to like this, even if the critical consensus has been surprisingly mixed on this album. And having heard it, well, yeah, I get why, as this is the furthest Home Is Where has drifted from emo and post-hardcore to date. The DNA of it is still in the jagged compositional structures, while they're gonna embrace weirder swerves like what sounds like a theremin or a weirder woodwind instrument on occasion, or they'll switch up the time signature abruptly on the excellently weird artificial grass, or where Roll Tide will just blast away for nearly 10 minutes for half the song consumed in feedback and desperately tragic college football chants, where they're comfortable with the sharper twang of the guitars in order to clash with pretty much everything, including the aggressively loud screams of harmonica, the pealing blasts of pedal steel and saloon piano across songs like Migration Patterns and Shenadoah. And that's the thing, many of these elements were already present on the back half of The Whaler. This feels more like an amplification of some of those rootsier elements than a sudden shift in sound, but I do hear how to some it might be an awkward choice. Some of this, for me, is Bea McDonald's yodeling yelp. I just prefer some of her screamed vocals a little more than the clean singing, of which there is way more of the latter on this album. But I also think some of this circles back to Jack Shirley's production, where all the melodic tones are rendered so bright that you might find yourself wishing for a more burnished blend that emphasizes more groove, which is why the more deliberate tempo and interplay of Stand Up Special and Everyone Won the Lottery is so goddamn charming for me. Honestly, the more stark comparison might actually be the ragged cowpunk and folk punk that were on the fringes of the 90s and 2000s alternative country scene, where energy wound up as the saving grace for some questionably balanced production or mixing or writing or good taste, especially when there are some more traditional country chord progressions slipping in like on Mechanical Bull. I don't agree that this album runs together by going so full blast so often, but I also do get why some might hear it in certain notes. But on some level, when you consider the subject matter and thematic arc of the album, it does make a certain twisted sense. The whole job of an Elvis impersonator pulled away from any glam of Las Vegas, it isn't just the tacky decay of a dubious American icon, it's the impersonation of it. This is not a performance that's going to come with glamour or fame or wealth. There's a certain carnival, sad seediness to the presentation of Americana that felt kind of reminiscent of Karen Jonas's The Rise and Fall of American Kitsch from last year, where the searing brightness of the sound casts every crevice of this American dream in sharp display. Sometimes you get the impression that the impersonator's car crash was kind of intentional, in a blur of suicidal depression or rage, feeling like they've just become another dark statistic amidst the deteriorating American empire and experience. To quote Migration Patterns, "I never want to live forever, I'd still have to go to work." But as the album continues, you will get snapshots of blue-collar memories painted in stark detail, this quiet hope for maybe something better, cherishing the ramshackle homes where there is a beauty in just trying to fight through. One of my favorite moments comes on the time-bending and religiously charged Milk and Diesel, where Judas Iscariot, of all people, tells the old lawman Pat Garrett, "You think that since all this has been made meaningless, that it'd mean less than it does." is. It's an observed conversation as the Elvis impersonator burns on a southern road that's rife with bottles of piss and McDonald's bags from the truckers, where the trans subtext enters the third verse, as Bea McDonald's fading grandmother mistakes her for her mom. It's worth highlighting that these songs are all in the first person, and while it's not as directly highlighted as on The Wailer, there is something very poignant about the genderfuckery of a trans woman playing an Elvis impersonator that I could imagine would have a certain resonance. It's actually kind of fascinating to untangle. And the back half of the album shows moments where amidst floods and fires, the Elvis impersonators, they'll meet monsters. First, an amused Lucifer on Mechanical Bull, where there's a begrudging respect for what might await them both amidst the flood. Kind of interesting, Lucifer, the light bringer. Second is the titular Wolfman, played historically by the actor Lon Chaney Jr., where as they're dying in the flames, they will moon him, because after all the moon can do is reveal the darkness that surrounds you, a blend of the Southern Gothic and the absurd that infuses a certain brand of Southern Americana. Because the display of empathy almost feels heartbreakingly earnest. There's still a bit of the dark edginess of the high concept conceit, but they want you to feel the plight of these sad entertainers. Perhaps a kinship acknowledging that in poverty, in queerness, or in a dilapidated subgenre intersection, they might have more in common with the Elvis impersonators than anyone wants to admit. Hell, by the half-irreverent drive-by mooning the closing track, the outro's chant of "Home is where forever," the parallels made all the more stark. But to pull this all together, while I'm not sure that Bea McDonald wrote the next great American song with this project, it feels consistently stronger than the sum of its parts in comparison with how The Wailer's best moments could kind of outshine that album. Hunting Season is a sort of sonic expansion that only gets more strangely compelling with every listen. Warping and wheedling, yet deeply affecting in its hope and its humor. It'll be a tougher sell to the diehard emo crowd, but it's absolutely worth that deep dive. You're not going to hear much like anything else like it in 2025, and the fact that it's legit great along the way is going to make it worth your time. Hunt this down. Please, folks, give it a shot. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, subscribe. I'd be curious where this is going to fall in comparison with The Wailer. Leave your comments down there below if you think this works for you. It did for me. I kind of don't want to weigh them against each other. They're doing very different things, but hey, curious in your thoughts. Beyond that, though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if y'all want to get involved in getting projects on my schedule, or helping support the channel, or just yelling at me in my Discord, I point to YouTube memberships and Patreon right over here. Don't feel obligated, tough times, this album clearly emphasizes that, but again, the option's available. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.